Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime Symbol, and today I'm going to be giving you part 7 of What If Naruto Was Neglected with the Black Rinnegan. Remember to get this one too 100 like as usual, share this to all of your friends on your social media platform, and also guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the brand new episodes of the other channels. Yes, if you're new, I indeed have 4 channel guys, including this making 5, Anime King, Anime King 2, Prince, and Anime King 3. So go ahead and check it out, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. And don't forget to turn on the bell notification to see exactly when I post. So without further ado or wasting any more time, how about we jump right into this brand new episode? Begin now guys. So the last part that we left off, Zetsu interference, as he was able to gather a large portion of missing ninjas under the disguise of payment as he sent them towards the homeland. He did not want Naruto to come back all of a sudden because he knew that he would be dead, so he used them to take on Karin and Menma to end their life. While that was going on, Naruto was making his way towards Konoha as he arrived there for the finals. Naruto had this sensation that he felt, but he shrugged it off as just nerves of being here. And he's going to kill Orochimaru once and for all. As the matches went on, Shikamaru faced off against Temari, and he gave up in the end. Mito's name was called as she went down there to face off against Neji. The both of them had a splendid match, as the both of them seemed to be quite equal, despite the fact that Neji was being known as a prodigy of his clan. However, Mito was no pushover either. She was able to beat him back. However, in the end, she pulled off something that surprised majority of them. She was able to harness the power of the Nine Tails. Yes, she harnessed the power of the Nine Tails. With that on her side, she was able to come out on top. The next match was Gaara versus Sasuke. Yamato had been there to help Sasuke and helped him a long way, as the boy had shown great improvements as Yamato had worked greatly on his speed. The match was going well until feathers started to fall, confusing Sasuke as he didn't know what the hell was going on, as Gaara was looking around as well. But in the state that he was in, he was slowly losing composure and control. Orochimaru then trapped Minato inside of the barrier. Minato knew if he sprang out, Orochimaru would make good on his threat and unleash the first and the second on Konoha. The third Hokage reanimation failed because the third Hokage had used his life to seal the Kyuubi, so the Shinigami had his soul, and Orochimaru could not revive that. As for Naruto, he made himself known. Sakura saw him as she screamed. He was the one that killed Kakashi. It was the same feeling, it was him. Guy did not hesitate as he charged towards Naruto as Naruto clashed with the great beast. But not only him, the others also charged forward as well, with the intention to kill Naruto as he had taken Kakashi down. They were ferocious as they tried to bring him down. However, they found out that Naruto was a force to be reckoned with as well. Using the almighty push, he sent them sailing as Naruto caused catastrophic destruction. Guy opened the 7th gate as Naruto pulled off a move as he harnessed all the elements and clashed with Guy. The force had knocked Guy out of the gates and obliterated that part of Konoha, showing the amount of power that Naruto had under his control. With that, Naruto made his way as he was able to bypass and get inside with a little bit of help. They had someone on the inside, so yes, he was able to get inside the barrier. Upon doing so, Naruto stopped the fight that was taking place. Orochimaru was shocked as Naruto spoke to him and also the intent with the Minato as well. However, this was a real bad time. But Zetsu interrupted things though as he brought a necklace that belonged to Karen. Naruto lost it. Releasing such a violent force, Naruto exploded the entire barrier, allowing Orochimaru the opportunity to flee. With Minato free, it was over, as the man was able to use that time to seal away the reanimations with a quick seal. He also placed a mark on Naruto. Naruto teared through the heavens as he made his way back home, only to find destruction and the bodies of Menma, and also Karen as well. That is when Minato arrived, teleporting there. This time Minato did it as he struck Naruto down. He proceeded to discard the other bodies by burning them, as he took Naruto's corpse along with him. Minato had returned and put Naruto to a secret location, while he dealt with the remaining forces outside, as Orochimaru had no choice but to flee. Zetsu had done it. He had done it, but he failed to retrieve those eyes because of that man, the fourth Tsuchikage. As Naruto lay on the operating table, he was in his mindscape. That thing that was there finally broke free, a side that Naruto had suppressed for the longest time. However, Naruto was not dead. His Rinnegan was different. While he could not bring anyone back to life, he could swap someone's life for his. He had taken Kakashi's life, his soul. He had taken a man known as Reiga, another, and he also took Haku and Zabuza. So you had to kill him 6 times for him to be permanently dead. His eyes reacted as Naruto was able to find out the history. His mother was from a very powerful clan going down into the ages. The remnants of the 10th tail had fused with a man giving him these black Rinnegan. It was a power of corrupt and destruction. And throughout the time they had been passed down, the Sage of Six Paths had made sure that he took away all those that possessed these eyes, because all of them always harbinger hatred and they desired death and destruction. As Naruto was on the operating table inside, he finally held hands with the darkness that was residing inside of him, as the both of them became one, and his eyes opened back to the world. The entire place shook violently as he reawakened. So yeah guys, basically as we left off, you guys can switch across the place for yourself. So let's begin this new episode guys. We begin this new episode with Zetsu. It took him a while, but now he remembered everything. It was thousands of years ago. He had heard that there was a man that had awakened powerful eyes, a man that could cause destruction and death in just his wake. He heard about that man. However, he was still young, still trying to get a foothold on this world, and he heard that the Sage of Six Paths had an interest in finding that man. So Zetsu had stayed away. He heard descriptions over the years. He heard rumors. However, the sage was a big reason why those eyes was never used for chaos once again. If you remember correctly, the name was Oda, yes. It is said that the clan was dispersed. Members fled because they knew they would be targeted if they awoke in said eyes. That must be. That is how this boy had those eyes. Now it all made sense. He couldn't believe that he'd forgotten about that. Zetsu was not happy, as he had failed to acquire the eyes. Minato Namikaze came out of nowhere and killed the boy. But it does not matter now. He was out of the picture. That is what Zetsu believed after all. He saw the death with his own eyes. So why did he have this tingling feeling that it was far from over? He had no idea why. Meanwhile, Zetsu was thinking about that. Minato had made sure that everything was perfectly set. He gave out countless orders. His daughter had returned safe, along with Sasuke as well. The Sand Ninjas were able to escape in the end. However, that did not bother Minato. He will soon have a talk with them. He quickly made his way towards the secret location. After arriving there, he placed his hand on the Fuinjutsu marker. It took some of his blood, and the door opened up. Minato stepped inside. Everything seemed to freeze at that moment. Sitting on the table, casually, gazing towards a wall, was Naruto. Minato was baffled, confused. He struck him down himself. He saw the light leave his eyes. How is this possible? Quick as a flash, Minato had a three-pronged kunai in his hand. Minato had no idea what it was. There wasn't any physical changes of Naruto, but there was something that was different, and he could not tell exactly what it was. As Naruto turned towards them, that is when Minato saw it. It wasn't just a presence that was coming off of him, it was his eyes. They looked physically the same, but there was this new intensity inside of them that Minato could see. And it was not only directed towards him alone. As Naruto smiled, he hopped off the table. "Hello there, father," he said. Minato was surprised by the way that Naruto addressed him. Oh, am I alive?" Naruto said, cutting him off. "After you thrust that three-pronged kunai right into my chest, destroying my heart, I should be dead. Yes, you're right about that. But you see, for the longest time now, I've been holding back a piece of myself for so long. But after all these years, we're finally back together. You have no idea how amazing this feeling is. To be whole once again. Man, I just can't believe I was doing this to myself for so long now." Naruto stepped forward as Minato twitched. "Oh, don't worry. I'm not gonna kill you today. In fact, I'm never gonna kill you," said Naruto, confusing Minato. "You see, my mind was focused on destroying you physically. But now, I feel like there is this new bursting source of information flooding in my mind. And I'm gonna grip onto that. And there's some ideas plotting in this psychotic head of mine. And now, there is nothing binding me to anything in this world. There is nothing more I care for. Nothing I really want. So I can truly focus on, well, the plan. Not gonna spoil it yet for you. However, by the end of this plan, you'll be begging me to end your life. And I will not oblige." Minato appeared behind Naruto. He had enough as he used a seal that he had on Naruto. However, despite the speed that Minato moved at, Naruto's body spun around and slammed a brutal kick. Minato brought his arm up just in time, but he was still thrown through the wall, breaking through it in the process as he crashed on the other side. "Ah, that pesky little mark," said Naruto. The mark slowly started to vanish off of him, and it was gone. Minato got up as he was rather shocked. He couldn't believe it. Naruto was able to react to his Hirishin. Naruto looked toward his hands. "Not only have I been suppressing myself mentally, but it seems I also locked away myself physically as well, mainly 50%. But now I'm whole, said Naruto, as he started to walk. I can't let you leave this place alive, said Minato. I won't let you harm my family or my people. This has to end, now. Naruto spun around. The rage in his eyes was so much. This ends when I say it does. As he proceeded to calm down. Sorry about that. It seems it's much easier for me to lose my temper. As Naruto looked around, he held his hand out towards Minato. Minato held his hand out as a Rasengan formed in his hand. Too late, said Naruto. Minato's eyes widened as he flashed away. The whole place erupted. It was pushed outwards. The walls exploded. The entire village of Konoha shook violently. Because they were underground, the force had to go somewhere. The earth cracked. Steam released from the earth. The entire underground facility proceeded to collapse in on itself. Minato had teleported towards the Hokage's monument as he was able to feel the devastation down below. He quickly teleported back down towards the entrance, however, it was now completely blocked off. But Naruto was already gone, and he took the marker off himself. So easy. Minato clenched his fist in rage. He thought he dealt with the problem, but now it was 10 times worse. Damn it, Minato cursed as he quickly made his way back up to the surface. Time skip. Gaara, Temari, and Kankuro was making their way back to their village. Both siblings were still rather shocked that he had apologized. Gaara's battle with Mito had changed his perception of almost everything. She was able to beat that standalone that he kept for so long by himself out of him. Her words, they inspired him to not fight for himself. After all, they were similar. She might not have had it bad as he did, but she understand what it means to be a jinchuriki, and she knew that it was hard on him. He never thought he would meet someone like her. And now they were heading back to the village. They had not left the land of fire just yet, but they will be soon until... Boom! Both Temari and Kankuro was thrown back. Sand lashed out and caught the both of them, so they would not hit the ground too hard. As the dust and smoke blew away, the person stepped out of the crater. He seemed to have dropped from the heavens itself. What the hell is going on, said Kankuro, believing that it was Konoha coming after them. However, it wasn't. Kankuro noticed that there was no insignia at all on him. The blonde streak that was at the end of Naruto's white hair seemed to have faded much more, as his hair looked mostly white, but there was still a few blonde streaks there. As Naruto stepped towards them, "Who are you?" said Temari. Naruto's eyes scanned over them until it fell upon Gaara. Gaara stepped forward. He could feel it in his bones. Whoever this is, he was dangerous. "Temari, Kankuro, get behind me," said Gaara. He just reunited with his family. He didn't want to lose them. "Oh, don't worry. I'm not here to hurt them. I'm just here for you." "What the hell do you want with him?" Temari said as she gripped her fan. As Kankuro started to pull out his last remaining puppy that he had, the others were destroyed. "You see," said Naruto, talking to himself, but he was talking out loud. "Once I died and I reborn, I was able to get the full understanding of what exactly brought these eyes into reality. That beast, that powerful beast, it was just a fragment of its power that merged with a dying human." Most did not understand because they couldn't see what I can see. I guess it took generations for me to see the full potential these eyes truly have. These eyes are a piece of that beast. That means it can all be reconnected. Even now as I speak, the plans, the ideas are just popping in my mind, one after another. So I'm gonna need what you have. That beast that resides inside of you. Naruto licked his lips. I can smell it, he said, as his gaze focused on Gaara. Temari extended her fan. We won't let you touch him. As Kankuro shot his puppy towards Naruto. However, Naruto did not move. The puppet slammed into the ground as it was in pieces. Kankuro was shocked. He couldn't believe it. That is when Gaara moved the sand under Naruto's feet. The sand wrapped around Naruto and started to squeeze until it exploded into countless pieces all over as Naruto gently walked forward. Temari jumped as she swung her fan at full might. Naruto held his hand out as the pressure hit. However, it was gone. Here, have it back, said Naruto. Temari screamed as she was blasted through the air. Leave them alone, said Gaara as he slammed his hand together. The sand exploded out of his gourd. The one that he has been mixing underneath the ground exploded outwards. A violent tsunami rushed towards Naruto. Naruto's eyes were closed as the impact got closer and closer and closer until Gaara was not prepared for what is to come. The force hit him like a train. Gaara, Kankuro, Temari, they were all sent sailing. They all crashed violently. The entire section of the forest that they stood was vaporized. It was gone. Gaara's sand took away much of the pressure of the force. However, before he could get up, Naruto's hand gripped him by the throat. His sand tried to make a move, but it suddenly stopped as Gaara felt the chakra slowly siphon away. Naruto raised his fist before crashing it in Gaara's face. Not once, not twice, not 3 times. 12 times. He beat Gaara until he was bloody. Naruto threw him down towards the ground as Kankuro came with a broken arm after falling rather badly. He tried to protect Gaara, but Naruto slammed his elbow into his chest before chopping him in the throat. He couldn't breathe for a moment there as Naruto grabbed his skull before driving it into the ground. He then picked him up before he sank his feet into his chest. A battered Temari came running out as she swung her fan towards Naruto. Naruto was gone as he appeared behind her and grabbed her by the neck, wrapping his arm around her before he slammed his fist 3 times right in her spine. She cried out in pain and agony as he dropped her to the ground. She looked up towards him as he kicked her in the face, sending her sailing through one of the broken trees. A battered, bloody Gaara held his hand up as Naruto looked down towards him before he grabbed the hand and stomped into Gaara's face twice. He then picked him off the ground and slammed his hand in his guts. Gaara started to scream. Both Kankuro and Temari were unable to do anything. However, not too far away, Baki was making his way towards the group. As he was quickly making his way as he heard Gaara screaming. However, a violent eruption of power exploded outwards, but it quickly died down. It was like it was retracted back as Naruto could feel the force, the red chakra seeping into his pores. It even seeped into his eyes. His dark eyes glowed red for a moment. It only took a few seconds as Naruto dropped Gaara. Gaara was motionless. That is when Baki came in as he swung his leg towards Naruto's face. Bam! His leg slammed into Naruto's face. Naruto's head tilted back. He had just absorbed the beast, his mind. His body was stabilizing. Naruto pulled his head back as Baki screamed out his right arm completely severed as Naruto's left hand was coated with wind chakra. He then backhanded Baki away as Naruto released a breath. None of them understand the full potential of these eyes. However, he does. As a smile appeared on his face before, he blasted up in the heavens. And there he stood, looking down towards them like they were nothing but insects. He knew he remembered everything. Karen was very close to him. Menma too. Like a younger brother, but he couldn't feel anything. He couldn't feel a single thing, even while caving in the redhead's skull with his fists. There was no empathy, nothing at all. He could even commit genocide right now, and there will be nothing. As Naruto laughed to himself, he had no idea that simply merging with that darker half of himself would give him this freedom. But it was truly and utterly amazing. Now there was one thing to do. Naruto closed his eyes. Meanwhile, Shikaku felt it, the tug on his chakra. The next moment, everything changed. Shikaku was now standing on a solid ground. There was no sand like the mindscape that Gaara possessed. Where am I? He screamed out, trying to find what the hell is going on. His body was disassembled after the battle within Konoha, and it would take him a while to regain his strength after being forcefully shoved back in. But now he was here and back to full form. Hey! Shikaku spun around as he saw someone down towards the ground. He squinted down. Who the hell are you? I'm not important, but that is. Shikaku slowly turned when he saw a mass of darkness. It jumped towards him as the great beast tried to fight it off, however. It was devoured. Naruto's body trembled as he felt the power. In the outside world, as Naruto opened his eyes, in the center of his palm was a Megatama, similar to the Sharingan. However, there was one black one in his hand. He believed it was the representation of the tail beast. He could also feel the internal changes that were taking place inside of him. As he looked down to where Gaara was, he held his hand out and raised it. The sand shot up into the sky and stopped, but it then fell apart. Not as easy as he make it looks, Naruto thought. As Naruto used wind manipulation pressure to blast off at tremendous speed. 2 weeks passed. The both villages were affected by what happened. Konoha was still trying to recover their strength. Gaara was killed. Temari and Kankuro was gravely sad about that. They just lost their father recently, and Gaara had turned around. He had changed, as Mito was told the news by her father that Gaara was killed on his way back to the village. So yes, she was sad for him because she saw the changes that had taken place when he had accepted his siblings once and for all. But he didn't get the chance to take that role. He was killed. However, the most pissed off was none other than Orochimaru. Orochimaru did had contact with a group that would supply another tail beast for his attack on Konoha. This group was from the Hindstone area, but in the last moment they pulled out. Yes, they wanted to see if Orochimaru could actually prevail, and then they would lend their hands so Konoha would be divided into shares and they would be a part of it. However, they saw that things was not going the Sanin's way, so they pulled out, leaving him astray. And Orochimaru was forced to flee, knowing that if he had stayed and fought, Minato would have ended his life. So yes, he fled. He fled to fight another day. Yes, he will return to fight another day. But for now, He had to regather his forces. Not only was Konoha gonna be out for him now, Naruto was still out there, and the child seemed to have gotten more powerful than ever. So Orochimaru had to be very careful with his endeavors and what he was doing, otherwise he would be screwed. At the office, as things was coming along great, Minato did not take it that way though. He put Naruto down once and for all with a heavy heart, and yet still, the child recovered. And the child was even more powerful than before. Far, far powerful. Once again, Minato had covered up the truth, saying that it was an invading party that had caused that massive quake in Konoha as a last-minute effort to escape. He told Jiraiya all about what happened, and tell the man that he also put down Naruto. Even Jiraiya was rather shocked to hear that Naruto was able to recover from the dead. It was those eyes of his. Jiraiya had seen them in the past, but never like that before. These sets seemed to be far stronger as well, if it was able to recover the dead. They still had so many unknowns, and now, after what he had said, Minato believed that Naruto was a completely different person, with different ideals, a different mindset. The first one was hard enough to understand, but now, things were a lot worse. He just had to be prepared for anything. He had no doubt in his mind that Naruto was the one that had taken the One Tails. But the most frightening part about it was, if Naruto had unsealed the beast would have been seen. Yes, the seal would have broken and the beast would have escaped, but that is not what he did. He was somehow able to absorb the beast right there and then, in minutes. That meant he had the ability to steal tail beasts. So Minato was worried for Mito's safety, and knowing the hatred Naruto had for him and his entire family, he would be coming after them. Yes, Minato was worried. Time skip. Naruto stood where the house was once located. Lying there now was nothing. Nothing at all. It was just burned pieces of board. The remains that Minato had left. Everything was gone in ashes. He thought that he would have feel horrendously horrible on the inside, but that was not the case. His emotions were not suppressed. He could still feel. However, these two people that once lied here, they were the only things that he cared about in this world. And now there was nothing, absolutely nothing that he cared about. Nothing and no one. So it doesn't matter anymore. Nothing matters. But he has a destiny to fulfill. He saw what the others could not see when they awakened these eyes. And he understands what must be done, what is needed. As Naruto gazed up towards the heavens, with a smile on his face, before he took off once again. Time skip. Naruto arrived near the mountains of Kumo. As he stood there, he pulled his fist back before he drive it down into the earth. However, he stopped his fist at the perfect moment, as he did not make impact. However, there was a strange force that generated from his hand that flooded into the earth. Around 3 seconds later, a vine exploded out of the earth, followed by another, and another, and another before a colossal tree erupted. Naruto pressed his hand against a tree as he absorbed it, little by little, until the power flowed into his system. It brought a smile to his face once again as his eyes pulsated. The Sage of Six Paths had sent his sons to get rid of all of the trees, the spawns of the Ten-Tail, every aspect of it. The battle between him and the Ten-Tail had left behind a lot. A lot of creatures had formed. The beast itself was able to split its body into countless. Its chakra and essence had taken on many forms. However, there were certain trees that were deep underground. But Naruto could feel them all. His eyes was a part of that beast, and he could sense them. He could literally feel and taste the chakra pulsating through the air. And there was still a lot around. However, they had remained underground, covered up by time, some going deeper and deeper in the earth. These were not standard trees, so they would not be able to die because of the lack of sunshine or water. As Naruto flew off once again, it was not the trees alone that he could sense. He could sense the tail beasts. As he closed his eyes, he could even see them. And where they were located, all of them were connected despite being separated. They were still one when it comes to their chakra, because merging them back would form the Jubi. Time skip. Naruto landed in front of a massive waterfall. As he stepped towards it, when suddenly 3 ninjas came out of nowhere. As they pointed spears and a kunai towards him. Halt. State your business for being here, the one on the left said. As Naruto turned towards him, Naruto vanished. As he reappeared, more closer to the waterfall, he was holding his blade in his hand. The ninja head was split clean open. As the other 2 thrust their spears forward, Naruto grabbed the handle of one. The other one broke. By an invisible force, Naruto yanked the spear forward, dragging the ninja. He grabbed said ninja by the throat and looked into his eyes. The man folded like playing cards. The other one stepped back in fear as Naruto sent him sailing with just a flick of his hand, the force crashing into his stomach like a bullet. Naruto then stepped towards the waterfall and pushed his hand right through it, his sleeves getting soaked. The wall in front of him started to rumble and shake. On the inside of the village, many of the people came to a stop as they looked around. They were rather confused. That is when the massive entrance that led underground suddenly ripped open at the top, shocking them because of the force that Naruto was generating. Buildings and houses on the inside started to collapse, crushing the innocent. As it opened up like an earthquake, causing Naruto to jump right through. As he proceeded to walk inside, seeing the shock look on their faces, Naruto then glanced upwards as he saw the tree. There was a massive tree in Take. This tree provided an elixir that they call the hero water that greatly boosts your physical capabilities and chakra as well. But this was no normal tree. No, it was not. It had been a sapling for years upon years upon years. But it decided to grow. Like having a mind of its own, the tree grew into this splendid, colossal of a tree. And it started to produce sap that mixed with a stream underneath it, which created the hero water that has been consumed by few. However, majority of them has died because of the chakra overload. Naruto flew toward the tree and rested his hand on it. As he started siphoning all the power out of it, it started to get weak and old. All the leaf falling off, large branches crashing to the ground, crashing on several things around. That is when Naruto heard water style, water colossal wave. Several ninja blurted out their techniques as the water shot up like a geyser to slam right into Naruto. Naruto held his right hand out as he absorbed the chakra from their technique while still absorbing the tree. Several ninja ran on the decaying branch as they jumped forward with their weapons. However, Naruto's eyes merely looked towards them and the force crashed into them, sending them down. However, the moment he did that, someone slammed right into him with incredible force. But Naruto was not surprised because he could sense it after all. Both him and her flew right into a building as they crashed through the back of the solid wall. She tried to pin him down on the ground. However, he looked towards her with a calm look on his face. She had green hair and orange eyes. I wonder what would it have taken to get your attention. You're doing this because of me? She said, looking down towards him. Her name was Fu, and she was the holder of the 7 tails. Well, it's over, she said as she raised her fist. Naruto tilted his head as her fist broke into the ground. She had superhuman strength. Let us see how you like it, said Naruto. He took off and slammed into her. This time, he took her through a building, but not just 1, 4. Before he grabbed her and threw her through the tree, her body broke through it like a knife, going through butter, as she crashed on the other side. Fu picked herself up, surprised by his strength. She was ridiculously strong and she knew that, but he tossed her like she was nothing but a small paperweight. As she rubbed her shoulder in pain, her wings extended from her back. She floated up in the air. She quickly went through hand sign and released a powder from her mouth. The place was blinded. However, Naruto did not close his eyes. He shielded his eyes with his chakra, which was much more powerful to subdue her technique rather easy. So she was caught off guard when he flew straight up and planted his fist in her abdomen. Blood burst out of her mouth. He grabbed her by the face before he slammed his fist in her abdomen once again, and again, and again. Fu squirmed in pain and agony as Naruto then dropped her. Suddenly he turned upside down in the air before blasting downwards as he dropped his fist right in her face. The force sent ninjas sailing. She crashed in the ground with a sonic boom. Naruto then dropped like a meteor right in her stomach. The whole earth was ripped to sunders. When everyone was able to properly see, there he stood right on top of her. Fu was squirming in pain, unable to move, barely twitching. He picked her up by the throat and slammed his hand in her stomach. Everyone was shocked, too afraid to even make a move, as Naruto was absorbing the tail beast out of her. However, some was braver than most. As few of them rushed forward, it gave the others the courage to do so as well. As they charged at Naruto, Fu tried to stop him as she raised her hand, trying to fight him off, but she was beaten badly with just a few hits. And not to mention, with him ripping the chakra out of her, she was getting weaker and weaker and weaker. As Naruto sucked the remaining chakra out, several techniques crashed right into him. However, when the smoke and dust cleared, the techniques had hit the ground, not him. He repelled them all. The ninjas all stepped back in fright. Naruto held his hand out. They all started to back away. Why show fear now? You guys didn't a moment ago, when you decided to attack me. So let me return it. With tenfold, Naruto said as his arm changed. It split into pieces. It split into 6 pieces, each piece had an opening. And a small missile flew from each of them. The explosion was catastrophic. Innocents and shinobis were wiped out. The leader, Shibuki, ran through hand sign as he used a giant water dragon, trying to stop the last missile, but the water dragon was blown to cinders and he, along with his top guards, were thrown back as they crashed on the ground hard. Naruto stood there, his gaze looking over all of them. They all groaned in agony and pain as he simply walked away. Not run, not fly. He walked away, and no one was brave enough or strong enough to stop him as he walked away without any fear, leaving the place in pure, utter chaos. With that, Naruto flew off once he was away from the village. He did that just to be cocky and arrogant. He didn't care anymore. Time skip, the hidden leaf. Word spread like wildfire about this threat going around. However, it was not just the hidden leaf that had taken notice of him. Of course not. Rumbling in the shadows was the Akatsuki. But not only the Akatsuki, Zetsu. Zetsu knew that something was off. He felt something wrong. He felt something really wrong. And he was correct. His intuition was correct, just as he thought. He was not dead. He was alive. And now he was going after the tail pieces. Zetsu realized that he screwed up. He realized that this person has been hidden away from the world, not bothering anyone, but because of his goal that he was so fixated on. He had to go and rile him up. And now he was hunting down the tail beasts for God knows what reason. Damn it. This would mess with his plan. Or maybe he had to do some digging to find something out first. As Zetsu left, he had not told anyone about this or anything at all. Nothing. After all, this was his little project. However, Sasori's spy network had get word about this. So the Akatsuki was aware of this new individual out there that had the power to walk into a village and simply take their tail beasts and walk right back out. Yes, despite it being Taki, one person, and the fact that they did not know who he was. After all, the S-rank ninjas around the elemental nations were well known. Of course the S-rank could do that. But this person was not known, and judging by what they say, he was just a teenager. So they needed to find out more about him, as Sasori was put to work by the leader of the organization. With Gaara's bird, they proceeded to make their way, as Sasori went to contact some of his spies to find out who the hell this person was and what the hell was going on. Time skip. Roshi and Han were currently grouped up. There was a reason for that. The Tsuchikage had sent a group to find the both of them. He wanted the both of them back at the village. Someone was hunting tail beasts, and he didn't want them to be a culprit. He would not stand with anyone making his village look weak. So yes, they had to return back, at least for the time being until this person is dealt with. Taki was a weak village, and they shouldn't have a tail beast in the first place. That is what he 100% believed. But because of their stupid pact with the hidden leaf, they got one. However, having Roshi and Han out there by themselves, this person might be strong enough to handle them both. Maybe not, but he just didn't want to chance it. The two were not pleased, but they did not want to become an enemy of their own village. So they listened to orders. His granddaughter had been able to convince the two. There was a few people that they were still close with in the village, despite them not living there anymore. They did not live together, but the both of them lived separate areas at the outskirts of the village. There was a few towns around there. However, his granddaughter knew them rather well, so it wasn't hard to convince them. As Kurosaki and the four others, not including Roshi and Han, were making their way back. Roshi and Han did not really get along that well. Despite the both of them being jinchurikis, it might seem strange, but there has been a lot of bad blood in the past. But it's not time to get into that right now. The center of the group felt something off as he looked up. Before he could say the word or give a signal, something crashed in the center of their group. Not just in the center though. He crashed right on top of one of their people, crushing his shoulders down as the guy folded like a pancake. Naruto stood there on top of the man's broken body. The others were blown away. However, they quickly regroup and get back to their feet. Kurosaki's eyes went wide. She was confused. He just appeared out of nowhere. The sensor was visibly shaken by what he was feeling. Who the hell are you? It was Kurosaki that asked. I see. The world is already aware of what I'm doing. Why would you be moving these two otherwise? Huh? So you're the guy, she said. The one that's going after jinchurikis. Yes. A pleasure to meet you, he said. Whoever you are. I didn't think someone like you would be so dumb to come here of all places. If you were smart enough to get a tail beast already, you're sure really dumb to come here to try and steal ours. And why is that? Because you're dead, she said. That is when Roshi appeared, his fists about to connect into Naruto's face. However, with surprising intense speed, Naruto pulled his head back. The fist blurred past his face. Roshi did not let that stop him though. His hand turned into lava and shot outwards. It was about to melt Naruto's face off. However, using his Rinnegan, Naruto's head became what seemed to be a robot. It split apart completely. There was no organs that could be seen or brain. His head simply split apart. The lava passed through the center as his head closed back up. Everyone was shocked by that. Naruto could detach every single part of his body and reattach it. He could also turn his body into a weapon of mass destruction. However, now was not time for that. With the surprise attack evaded, Naruto chopped Roshi right in the throat, causing the man to gasp. As he backed away, Han tried to move in, but Naruto grabbed Roshi's arm and turned as he spun the man and tossed him to Han. Han had to catch Roshi, which was his mistake as Naruto crashed into Roshi's stomach. The force blew him and Han away as they were sent sailing into the stones. Naruto's hand quickly changed. It turned into a saw as he tear through the kunai and the man that jumped towards him from the left. His hand then turned into a cannon as he blasted the earth, blowing the ninja up that was underground. But Kurosaki was already in mid-air as she fired a white substance all over Naruto. She then used fire chakra to harden the cement. Naruto was now stuck to her belief. Whipping out a kunai, she rushed forward, about to end this person. However, she saw him smirk. Kurosaki, run! Han shouted out as he felt the buildup of chakra, but she could not move in time. The whole area was reduced to beyond rubbles. Chaos and destruction reigned. Back at the village, everything started to go haywire as a force could be sensed. The place was violently shaken. Oniki, not wanting to take any chances, simply flew out as he headed towards the destination to find out what the hell just was that. Everything was ringing. Kurosaki slowly got to her feet as all she could hear was ringing in her ears. She was bleeding, she could feel it from her arm and the back of her head as well. Han and Roshi was recovering as well. Well, it seems you're the dead one. Her blood ran cold as she turned. Snap! Naruto broke her neck with simply a flick of his hands. Her body spasmed for a moment before she collapsed down to her knees. Both Han and Roshi, who was now able to witness what was going on, saw her fell down, dead. Both men did not have that many people that care that much about them. They didn't have any family left. The both of them were quite up there in the ages, but Roshi was older than Han. But this girl was a promising leader. She was the future of the Hidden Stone, and her neck was just snapped by a man that showed no empathy. He just gazed down towards her with those cold black eyes. The tail beast chakra flooded their system immediately. However, before they could fully transform, Naruto fired something towards them at blinding speed. It slammed into their stomach. This would be no problem for them, after all they were jinchurikis, but they could no longer feel the chakra. The both of them looked down as they saw two black rods, and this thing was stopping their chakra from manifesting. Anger in their eyes, they looked up, but he was gone. You think I'm here to play games? I'm just here for what I desire. They heard behind them. They tried to move, but the back of their head was grabbed. Violent lightning tore into their system. His empty eyes looked down towards them as he electrocuted them. Their bodies spasm as they scream out for dear life. The both of them collapsed face front. As they were twitching, two other rods appear in Naruto's hand. He drive it through their shoulders, pinning them to the ground. As he placed his hand on their back, he slowly started to absorb the tail beast chakra. Naruto closed his eyes as he enjoyed and basked in the power flooding into him. Naruto smiled as he felt the process finish. The 4 and 5 tail was consumed by the darkness, the beast that was slowly growing inside of him and becoming a part of him. When Naruto opened his eyes, as he looked into his palm, all the representation of them were there. The 4, the 5, the 7, the 1. That was the 4 tail beasts. 4 marks was in his hand. Naruto reached up toward his forehead as he felt something under his skin, something growing there. He felt his strength. He felt his power increasing. That is when Naruto saw someone flying out towards him. However, he didn't have time for this. He had to complete his goal. As Naruto took off at blinding speed, going for the others, it was none other than Oniki as he arrived. When he noticed the body on the ground, Oniki was silent. As he rushed over to her with the fastest speed he can move at, he took her in his arms. He lost so much because of the war. So much was killed. So many people, so many loved ones was taken away from him. His wonderful granddaughter who wanted to take his hat, who wanted to succeed him. It was supposed to be a simple mission for them to return. There was no possible way that this person could find Han and Roshi so quickly. And they were last sighted near Konoha, so there was no way they could reach here in this short amount of time. But here he was, holding his lifeless granddaughter in his arms, tears gathering in his eyes. The man was furious, pissed off, bloodlusted. All the ninjas that had took off to secure him felt the bloodlust even from the distance. Oniki was pissed. He's never been so pissed before as he held the dead body of his granddaughter. Meanwhile, that was going on. Jiraiya of the Sannin was hot on the trail. Naruto was not trying to hide his presence. He was not trying to hide what he was doing because, frankly, he just did not give a damn. The Sannin was hot on his trail. Jiraiya had gotten word about what was going on. So yes, he knew. All of his agents, they were given the same goal: to report in immediately if they sight him. Not wait a day or anything, immediately. The Sannin had to do something about what was going on, because he knew if he did not, Konoha would be left in shambles. Naruto had made himself clear that he would not be killing Minato. The only way to make him suffer more was to kill his family and then destroy the village. Jiraiya, as a proud Sanin of the village, could not afford to let that happen. He would not let that happen. But he was not the only one thinking about what was going on. Orochimaru was currently seated. Information was coming to him. Yes. Time had passed. It has been 1 week and 4 days since Naruto had taken Han and Roshi tail pieces, and the death of Kurosaki. Orochimaru had spies all over as well, so it wasn't hard for him to get this information. Now the boy took the 1, the 7, 5 and the 4. The Sanin was getting worried. Orochimaru had feared Naruto because of his unusual ability to tamper with someone's soul. And from what he was hearing, the boy was not unsealing these beasts, he was absorbing them. How on earth his body could maintain such power, the Sanin had no idea. However, if his power keep on rising, if he was able to gather all 9, no, he has to do something about this immediately. But guys, be and subscribe right here. If you want the next person to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm off for now. See you guys soon. Peace.